Here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Love Bay family, we are rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on tonight is encouragement, how I got here. Our Harry Party and our guest on this evening will be Elder Stefan Eberhardt of Top Ministries. Elder Stefan is having some technical difficulties right now, so hopefully she will be able to log in and join us. But listeners, if you have any questions or comments for our guest or our co-host, you can email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. You can also text us at 437-778-3299. And with that, Carrie, if you would say hello to our listeners on tonight.
Hello, my name's Carrie. I'm a writer. I love telling women's stories, and I help them basically tell their stories about anything that they've been through, like trauma or maybe an uphill journey of accomplishing a goal. I just love telling stories of triumph and empowerment. If you would like to tell your story or need help editing something, my Instagram, I'm not going to say my email because now I feel like it's too long. But yeah, my Instagram is Carrie Hardy 23, KerriHardy 23. So yeah, that's my Instagram.
Carrie, you have to share your email. If someone wants to email you, what's your email address? Now I
Okay.
know it, but we have to share the
I
information.
know, I feel like it's long though. Um, Images attainable. So it's well, I don't want to spell images, but it's images spelled phonetically and attainable spelled phonetically as well. And I have another email address that's shorter. It's um KIHX100 at gmail.com. KIHX100 at gmail.com.
Okay, awesome. So, listeners, if you want to email Carrie, now you can email her. And I love your email address. So I actually think that your email address ties into our topic on tonight. So I'm thinking of some questions right now around that. But before we do go into our topic, I want to share some resources, listeners, with you. The first resource that I want to share on tonight is different. This is not the resource dealing with domestic violence or sexual assault. I believe that this is a resource that we can tap into when you're ready to go to that next step, when you're in another place in your healing process. And this resource is Pastor Darius Daniels. He is the pastor of Change Church, which is located in New Jersey in the United States. His name is spelled Darius, Darius, and Daniels is Daniels. Again, he is the pastor of Change Church, which is located in New Jersey. I believe there's also a physical location in Florida and a satellite location, I believe, in Atlanta, Georgia. His website is dariusdaniels.com, and his YouTube channel is Darius Daniels TV. And I have, over the past few weeks, I've been, I think, just in the next step of my own healing process. And I came across his messages. Actually, someone started sending his messages to me, and I started watching them and paying attention to his lessons and his sermons. And I've really gotten a lot out of it. He's very practical, and it just makes sense for me where I am. And so he has been a help to me so much in his past few weeks that I wanted to share this information. I believe that wherever you are, whatever stage in your process that you're in, you'll be able to glean something from the lessons and from the messages that he shares. In addition to being a pastor, he's also a life coach. So I encourage you to take advantage of this resource as well. In addition to that, I want to share the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That website is thehotline.org. Their phone number is 1-800-799-7233. And in the UK, we have a National Domestic Abuse Hotline. Their website is www.nationaldahelpline.org.uk. Their number is 0808 2000247. Then we have Women's Aid. Their website is www.womensaid.org.uk. And then we have the Asia Foundation. Their website is asiafoundation.org. And so I encourage you listeners to take advantage of any and all of these resources wherever they may be of assistance to you in your walk. Take advantage of it and do what you need to do. And I believe even taking advantages of resources that are available to you are part of what we're going to talk about tonight, the encouragement and how, we get to where we are. So again, our topic on tonight is encouragement, how I got here. If Elder Stefan is not able to join us, we will have her back in the future, because I believe that this is a perfect topic for her to speak on and to share with us on, because she has just gotten to what I believe is a beautiful place in her life. She has made some wonderful accomplishments, and so I would love for her to be here to share what those accomplishments are and how she really got to be where she is. There were some issues and things that she had to get through in her life, and she did. So I would love for her to come and to share that information. So my very first question to Elder Stefan would have been, how did you do what you do? And so even with that in mind, I really want to say, and I want to put out there, it's not easy. I really don't want to oversimplify, and I don't want to exaggerate the process. But I think just very clearly, just very plainly, it's not easy. It takes work. And so I would present, even this question to you right now, Carrie. The work it takes to put in the effort to get to where you want to be in your life. Again, I don't want to oversimplify what it takes, and I don't want to exaggerate it to make anyone feel that it's impossible. But I would ask you, can you speak to, your thoughts on the effort that it takes to get to where you want to be in your life?
I think, so when it comes to effort, if you are a tenacious person, which means you work very hard, if that's an inherent trait in you, and that's something that will come naturally, doesn't make the work any less hard, but it's something that will come naturally. But I think if you're a hardworking person, I think one of the most taxing things you have to do when you're trying to accomplish a goal or get to where you want to go is overcoming self-doubt. Because self-doubt, it doesn't stop. Like when you finish a project or when you meet a deadline, it's like, or you get that degree, it's like, okay, I got that degree or I got this deadline. Self-doubt is something that perpetuates itself, and it's something that you have to work to overcome. It's something that you have to work to overcome on a daily basis. And it gets easier, but you're not never going to have negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
So learning how to control negative self-talk is something that takes a lot of work. And sometimes you need help to do that, because sometimes it just be out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And it things like feeling self-doubt and feeling like you can't do something or that you're not worthy to accomplish that goal, it can disproportionately, affect people who did not come from privileged backgrounds, and privilege comes in all shapes, forms, and fashions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that doing that inner work to not let self-doubt hold you hold you back or make you feel unmotivated to do something. Because sometimes you can just feel so like you're not good enough that you're like, why should I even start this? Or maybe you're a perfectionist and you're like, if I don't get this right, it's gonna make me just feel devastated if I don't do it perfect.
Mhm.
So getting to where you need to go, I think there's a lot of inner battles that you have to fight, that you have to work really hard to win in order to get to where you need to go. Because if you're a hardworking person, it'll come naturally to you. Even, of course you'll get tired, but and you're not gonna always. And sometimes you'll be so tired you can cry. I remember when I was a senior in college, I was working at a hair salon, and I was, doing a lot. And I just remember, like, I was walking home from work one day, and I would always go get something to eat. I didn't have time to eat before I went to the job, because the job started like 7 a.m. People go to get their hair done early. And I
Mhm.
think I was walking home, and it was like a very bougie salon. So I had to be very, on point, very perfect at that job. I was the receptionist, I was the face. And I remember walking home and I just started sobbing hysterically. And I don't think there was something wrong with me. Like, or of course I was overworked. Yes, that's a problem. But I just was so tired that like my body, I guess, was just trying to release something. I was just so
Mhm.
tired. And on top of that, I would do those shifts. I did not have time to eat. So a lot of times I would do it on an empty stomach. So like I just was so tired. And so physical fatigue is not nothing to play with. Like, oh, I'm not sure how work is
Mhm.
happening. No, that's not nothing to play with. I'm just saying I think the inner the mental thing on that uphill journey, I think that's even more challenging than the physical fatigue.
Yeah. So I mean, you've said a lot, but I want to point out, as you said, some of us we're naturally hardworking. It's just you just have that thing inside you where you just get up and go. You just do it, um, and so you can within you naturally, or I believe that you can learn to to you can learn to be proactive. You can learn to be administrative. You can learn to be organized. You can learn some things. But however you do it, if you learn it, or if you're naturally good at it, if it's just a thing that you naturally do, just in your normal everyday life, you can be stressed trying to get to where you want to go. You can be stressed trying to reach your goals. But then when you take your life, and if domestic violence is added into your life, if sexual assault is added into your life, and then you have that trauma on top of it, then it makes it even more hard and more difficult to accomplish goals. I mean, even to set goals after dealing with trauma. And so I want to point it out that um, sometimes it's hard just because this is the road that we have to take. You have to overcome challenges, but sometimes it's hard because of trauma that was introduced into your life. Sometimes it's hard because of issues that arise from another person or a place or thing, and you have to deal with that. And having said that, self-care becomes absolutely important. You have to take care of yourself. And I mean in practical ways. You have to eat. You can't burn a candle at both ends. You can't go to work at 7 a.m. and you get off at 12 a.m. the next morning. You have to give yourself some time. So I think the effort that we put in to what we want to do and what we need to do, it has to be manageable. It has to make sense, and it has to be what you can maintain. But I think one of the bottom lines is that you have to put in some effort. What you need to do and want to do for yourself, you have to take responsibility for you. You have to take accountability for you and move forward and go, even if there was trauma introduced into your life. Um, Even if there are some letdowns or disappointments that you have to deal with, you have to find a way to move through that. Not close your eyes and pretend it's not there. You have to deal with it, You have to deal with it in a way that you can manage, but you have to deal with it in order for you to be able to move on and have a semblance of a life. Um, and I know how hard it can be. I've been there, done that, and I'm still doing it. But it has to be done. We can't leave our lives, what we want to be, into someone else's hands. We can't leave it to fate. And we can't say, well, this will happen if it's supposed to happen. No, this will happen if you make it happen. If you put in the effort and you do what it is that you need to do for yourself. Now, having said that, you know, I want to say to our listeners and to our viewers, there are some things that have been done to us. There are some things that have been said to us that were absolutely wrong, absolutely hurtful, absolutely crushing. But we can't let those things stop us. You have to regroup, regather yourself, do what you need to do for yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, do what you need to do for yourself financially, in all the areas that we can be or have been maybe abused or hurt. We still need to take those same areas and put them together one by one. And nothing can be done all together, all at the same time. But we have a responsibility to ourselves to move forward, do for us. And so, in that, I want to say, as lovingly as possible, stop waiting for apologies to come. Stop waiting for acknowledgement to come. Some people hurt us and they don't care. Some people hurt us and they don't even feel like they hurt us. Some people hurt us and they feel like they are somehow the victim. And I say that to say some of us are stuck in a place where we're back and forth in our anger. We're back and forth in forgiveness. We're back and forth with um, moving forward, but we're stopping ourselves. So again, we can't wait for apologies. We can't wait for what we think the other person should do. We can't wait for what we think the situation should be on the other side before we get up and do what we need to do for ourselves. And to that person who may be waiting to hear an acknowledgement or an apology, I say to you myself, I am sorry. Whatever it is that happened to you, whomever it is that did whatever they did to you, I am sorry that that happened to you. And I am telling you that you are worth it to get up, to start managing your life, to start gathering the resources that you need, to start taking one step at a time. You are worth it. You are valuable. And if you never hear it from anybody else, I appreciate you for being able to make it to this point. I appreciate you because you got from yesterday to today. And now you're going to get from today to tomorrow. I love you. I see you. I know the effort that it took even just to get up, to get dressed. I know what that takes. You have to find it within yourself to move forward. You have to know within you whatever accomplishments you want to make, you can do it. It's there in front of you. You create your dream and you tackle it one step at a time. Um, and if you hear nothing else I say tonight, I want to leave you at least with that encouragement. You are worth it. You move forward. You do what you need to do for you, and you can't focus on another person. And I mean, I absolutely, they were absolutely dead wrong. It should not have happened to you. They should not have done what they've done. And yes, they should be held accountable for it. But you can't wait for them to be held accountable before you start moving and do what you need to do. If your finances need to be fixed, fix them. If you need to move in your career, move in your career. If you need to improve or do something different in your education, then you do that. Don't wait until you see justice exacted on someone else because you may never see it. You may never see it. You may never get that apology. You may never get that acknowledgement, and that doesn't make you less than. It doesn't minimize what you have been through. It doesn't. All it means is that you are ready to get up and go forward. And I just want to encourage you in that. I know that was a lot. So, Carrie, if you do you have?
Yeah, I think that trauma is plays a huge part in having the wherewithal to keep going and perseverance, because trauma is an added layer of effort and labor. Because, for example, I can think of one time where I was about to give a presentation in front of class, and I was sitting up there in front of the class because the person before me was going, but the professor wanted me to sit in the chair in front of the class, like in preparation to go next. And, I had adrenaline. I was a little bit nervous. And, just because I've had some situations that have, that have traumatized me, I mean, I wasn't horrified. I don't really have that bad of stage fright. Just the adrenaline and the anxiety was just, for some reason, it triggered me to have like a flashback. So I'm literally having like a flashback. I mean, you couldn't see it on my face, but I'm literally having a flashback in front of the classroom. Nobody knew it. I was just sitting there, but I'm having a flashback, like of something that happened in my childhood, just because that physical response triggered that memory. And then, I got to go next. Like, I got to give my presentation next. Like, there's no, oh, sorry. Like, I just had a flashback. I got to go. Like, I guess
Right.
I could have ran out the classroom, but I mean, like, that's very humiliating. And like, you get a 0. So, yeah, I gave the presentation, and like, that's extra effort to, control your mind and stuff like that. And to just do it anyways. That's extra effort. I think we hear a lot of resilience narratives and stuff like that, like basically stories about resilience and doing what you need to do. But I think one thing that's not addressed is the extra labor. Like, it's like having 2 jobs. You're trying to control the trauma and the thoughts, but then you're also working towards your goal. It's like having 2 jobs.
Yes.
So that's very, very hard. And then because you have anxiety, in the moments that you're, oh, I need a break, like in those moments, you may not be able to relax just because you're not good at relaxing because you've been through things. And so you're not able to take a break during that time, really mentally and physically. So that is also an added layer of doing more work. Like, if you have somebody and they get if you have 2 people on a shift, one person gets a 30-minute break and then one person gets a 15-minute break, that's a difference. Like, basically, when you're supposed to be taking a break, and say you did all your assignments, you want to take a break, but you're still anxious, you can't relax. That's like having a 15-minute break instead of a 30-minute break. So that's like an added layer of like, I'm exhausted.
Yes.
So I think that that's one thing that we should also think about. Like, for example, also, if you're feeling like, if you're looking around, because another thing that was hard for me when I was in college is like, I felt like I couldn't relate to my peers, and I felt like they weren't as tired as me. And that was very alienating. Like, I look around and I feel like, oh, everybody's doing better than me. Like, physically, like everyone and mentally, physically is doing better than me. Like, I feel like I'm just degrading. And like, I don't see that reflected around me. So it's like, oh, am I not strong enough? Like, am I not, why? But then that's not using compassion for yourself, because you're not looking at the big picture. All you see is you are, been out of shape, and then the people around you aren't, and you're like, oh, we're in the same conditions, we're in the same class, we got the same professor, we're doing the same things. Like, you're like, oh, we're all in the same situation. Like, I should be like them, but you're not thinking of the big picture. But then again, it's also hard because looking at the big picture can be painful. So it's like, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So I just think the best thing is just to always have self-compassion and just be like, I've been through things, and I know we live in a no excuses society, but it's okay to say to yourself, even if you just say inside, you don't want to like um like say it out loud. Like I've been through things like you can say it to yourself. And if the only place you can cry is like on the toilet with the door closed, girl, you go and cry on that toilet, like with the door closed and the fan on and the shower running. Like you do what you need to do.
Yes. Yes, that is absolutely that. I think that was perfect. That was a beautiful statement. You do what you need to do. You cry when you need to cry. You cry when you can cry. If it's at work, if you need to go into the bathroom and take a moment, then you do that. If you're out in public and you need to, just have a moment to yourself, so you need to dip inside of a place where you can get a minute to yourself, you do that. It is okay. It is okay for you to feel what you feel. It is okay for you to work through your emotions. That is what we are supposed to do. And in order to make progress and in order to get to where you're going in your life, you have to work through your emotions, not get stuck in them, but you work through them and you take it a step at a time to get to where you need to be. And you don't put yourself on a timetable that you see somebody else working by. Okay, so what I may need a few minutes for, somebody else may need a couple hours for. You can probably be okay in a couple hours. I need a day or two to get through it. But that's me. I think that's part of self-care. You know yourself, you learn yourself. So you know how you need to treat yourself, how you need to be compassionate to yourself. And sometimes you do need to talk to yourself. Now I'm telling you, there are times, I talk to myself, I say what I need to say, because if I don't, the response I'll have in a moment will be the wrong one. So it is absolutely okay to talk to yourself and respond to yourself with the right answer. And the right answer is whatever you need in that moment. And Carrie, I want to touch on a point that you made, that it does feel like, and it can be extra labor, or an added layer when you're trying to get through and do what you need to do for yourself. But I want to say you can do it. Yes, it is more. You cannot put me in a room full of women who just grew up happy go lucky, just skip through middle school, high school, college, got married and had a beautiful life. You can't put me in the same room with people who fit that category and expect me to think and to feel the same, because my experience is different. My life is different. I've been through things and I've seen things that, the average person hasn't. And so there are some situations that may be simple for you, may be easy for you, but I had to put in some extra effort. I had to put in some extra effort mentally. I had to put in some extra effort emotionally. Whenever I walk into a space, doesn't matter where it is, when I step into a room, first thing I look for are the exits. That makes me feel comfortable. That's something that I need to do for me. Everybody else isn't doing that. But when I walk into a room, because of my experience, because I need to feel safe, because I know what I need to do for myself, that's what I do. I can't be in large crowds. I don't like large crowds. I don't like a lot of people around me. I feel uncomfortable. So there are things that I have to work through that another person doesn't. But I say all that to say, you can do it. You take whatever is before you and you break it into small pieces. You take your the big picture, as you said before, you take the big picture and you break it into smaller goals until you get there. And you know what? A goal for me may be, in order for me to get through this meeting, in order for me to get through this event that I need to step into the room, I need to feel safe. I need to know where the exits are. I cannot have a million people around me just in my personal space that makes me feel uncomfortable. I know what I need to do for me. Or it could be something on a scale, if it's a financial issue, and I'll speak about, myself. On or a couple days ago, I was officially divorced for 7 years. It was 7 years. And I remember when, I'd first left, my abusive marriage, my finances were horrible. My credit score is 528. And I always say I remember that number because that's my birthday. My birthday is May 28th. My credit score was 528. Financially, I was jacked up. And a huge part of what I didn't like, a huge part of what hurt so much is that my finances weren't bad because of me. It was because of what was done to me, but I had to deal with it. And so that's why I can say you cannot focus on the abuser. You cannot focus on whomever hurt you. You cannot focus on that situation. Cry when you need to cry, do what you need to do, but eventually you got to get up and you got to make a move. You have to do something. I could not just look at that 528 credit score and just be okay. No, I had to get my credit report together. I had to see what was what. I had to find out what was what. And I just had to start dealing with it. I thought it was going to take me years to get out of that debt that I didn't put myself in. And I'm telling you, I was livid about that. But I had to do something. And so I took my credit report, I took all of that debt, and I broke it down into small pieces. I took the smallest debt, and that's what I started working on first. I forgot about everything else. I knew what it was. I had a track of everything. I made note of everything, but I couldn't pay everything off at one time. I took the smallest bill and I dealt with the smallest bill a little bit at a time. When the smallest bill was paid off, then I moved to the next one. And that's what I did until I got my credit together. And it took less than a year. I thought it was going to take me years, but it took less than a year. And within that year, my credit score went to 790. And I say that to say, you can do it. To me, that was massive. I was pissed off. I'm sorry, there was no feeling like when you're dealing with a problem because somebody else created it. That is just, oh my goodness. I just, you feel like I felt the anger. I'm like, this is not fair. And, everything that I have to deal with now, my finances are jacked up, but I couldn't stay in that. I felt what I felt. I talked to who I needed to talk to. I talked to, counselors, and, I put a plan together, but I had to move. And when I moved, I put myself in a better place. Yes, it was hard. Yes, I cried. Yes, oh my God, I was angry. I was beyond angry, but I still had to move. And so if I can do that, you can do that. And it doesn't just have to be your finances. It could be whatever area of your life it is. And for me, it was several areas. It was me and my physical stature, my physical nature. I had to take care of myself. I had to start exercising and working out, taking care of myself physically. My education. I'm in school now. This was, another goal that I had, and now I'll be almost finished, my bachelor's degree soon, and then I'll move into my master's degree. I could not do everything at the same time, but I took each goal, broke the huge goal, the big picture. I broke it down into smaller goals and just worked on it until I got to where, I needed to be. And again, I say, I did it. I'm doing it now. You can do it. So when I say you have to stop focusing on the person, the abuser, the situation, or whatever, I'm not being flip about that. I'm not saying it just to say it. I'm telling you what I know. You have to focus on you. And to that person, like, I can just feel it. You just want to hear sorry. You just want an apology. And you're probably never going to get it. You can't live your life in a ball, scrunched up, just waiting for something that you're most likely never going to get. It's bad enough that you were hurt. It's bad enough that you were abused. It's bad enough that something was taken away from you that they can never get back. Because even if you get that apology, the time that was taken away from you, you're not going to get that back. If you get that apology, whatever happened physically, that's not going to be restored. If you get the apology, you're not going to get that money back. There's a whole lot of money I would like to have in my hand, but I'm not getting that back. And I couldn't sit and wait for something to materialize. That wasn't going to happen. But you can do it. So a little bit at a time. We can overwhelm ourselves. And I know I overwhelm myself because I would think of everything all at one time, everything that I felt like I needed to fix, everything that I felt that I needed to make right all at one time. I overwhelmed myself. I was already stressed. I was already feeling sick. I was already having a hard time. And I just added stress and pressure to myself. Um, and I had to take the timetable off of my shoulders too, because I wanted things to happen quick. When I started working on my finances, it did happen faster than what I thought. But I just wanted things to be right. And to be honest, I just felt like things were just wrong for so long. I just want things to be right now. And I want everything to be, right now at this time. But even with that, I had to look and I had to be honest. This stuff didn't happen overnight. And I'm not going to be able to get out of this stuff overnight. But I can do it, and you can do it too. So don't put yourself on a timetable. The point is just to keep moving, just keep going. And I say, just like you have to have compassion on yourself, you have to congratulate yourself. You have to pat yourself on the back. You have to encourage yourself. So as much as, I love to encourage individuals and help individuals along, I love to do that. At some point, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, good job. You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I did it. I did it. I accomplished this. And don't belittle anything that you do. If you made it, you made it. And that's it. So learn to pat yourself on the back. So listeners, we want to take a moment to welcome you again to Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Love Faith Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern with a replay on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. and also Thursdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Love Babe, we want you to remember that we are truly rising out of the ashes together. I want to share with you a few more resources. We have the Polaris Project, the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Their number is 1-888-373-7888, or you can text the words Be Free, BEFREE. You can text the words Be Free to the number 233-733. And their website is polarisproject.org. And Polaris is spelled POLARIS. Then we have the Canadian Women's Foundation. Their website is canadianwomen.org. Their phone number is 1-866-293-4483. And in Australia, we have the National Family Violence Counseling Service. Their website is www.1800respect.org.au. And their phone number is 1-800-737-732. And with that, Carrie, I want to go to your email address because, I think your email address is just beautiful for tonight. Images attainable. Images attainable. I believe that's what we are expressing on tonight. The goals are attainable. You have to see it. You have to have a vision, right? You have to have that image. And when I think of your email address, images attainable, that's what comes to me. So I want to ask you if you would expound on that, what your email address means to you.
So it was like, so basically I had this huge falling out with my family. And it was the summer before my senior year, and I was on campus. And I just kind of, I wanted to start something, with writing, because I love writing. And I wanted, and I was thinking of a name for, this business or whatever, this idea that I had. And one day I just woke up and I just thought, images attainable. And
when I first thought of it, I think I was referring more to like brands and things. But now when I really come to think of it, I think that it probably did derive from where I was at spiritually at the time, because I did feel emotionally a hot mess. Like I did feel just not together. And I I thought, I can find new identity in my goals, and I can create a new image for myself
Mhm.
in the things that I'm working toward. And I think that that can be good. I think sometimes it can be problematic just because sometimes you can get too invested in goals and images that you don't do the work of, because that trauma still has to be addressed.
Yes.
Like success is good self-care, but you also have to, and there's that moment where you feel success and you're like, I don't want to go back there. Like, I'm good now. Why should I have to go back and think about those things? I feel like that's unfair. Not like I really do, but in the moment you think that way. Like, I feel like that's unfair. Like, why should I have to dwell on those things that made me feel horrible when now I'm actually in a place in my life where I actually feel kind of good? Like, how
Mhm.
is that fair? But you have to, because these things fester and show up in ways that are really that can be really strange. Like for example, you could just maybe you can just sometimes I'll just feel randomly sad, but it's not random.
Mhm.
Like I'll just feel like sad. It's like in my chest, like right here, but it's not random. That's why it has to be addressed. Because these things you can't just let them be, because they'll show up some way. And I know it's very annoying. You just want to forget. You just want to forget. Because I was talking about on the last show, like how I just wish I want it not to matter so bad. Like, I don't want it to matter, but it does. And ultimately acknowledging that those experiences matter are acknowledging that you matter, because you also matter apart from those goals. Like you as
Yes.
yourself as a human, like you also matter. Like regardless of your bank account, regardless of the prestige you require for yourself. You should always celebrate those things, but you still matter as a human being,
Yes.
regardless. So that's why you have to work on those things.
Yes. Well, I mean, I agree. I think it's absolutely beautiful what you said. And there is a clear difference between dwelling on an issue and dealing with an issue. If you dwell on it with no action, you have no plan, nothing's going to happen. Dealing with it, you deal with the emotion behind it, you deal with whatever it is that happened, and you keep moving forward. And I want to say sometimes you have to deal with it more than once. Sometimes you have to deal with it and you're okay. You're in a good space. You're good. And maybe a few months later, better part of a year, you have to deal with that issue again. Something may happen and trigger that moment where you feel sad. And it's absolutely okay. Because as we have stated several times, healing is not linear, it's not a straight line. Sometimes you go up, down, forward, back, around, whatever. It happens, but it is absolutely okay. The point is to deal with it. You cannot stick your head in the sand like an ostrich and just, your trauma also cannot become an excuse. You can't say this happened to me, this person destroyed my finances, so all is lost, that's just it, and you just give up. No, we're not doing that. That's not what you do. You deal with it. And again, I use myself as an example. One of my goals, a few years ago, I think maybe 8 years ago, it was when I first left. I think I left about 8 or 9 years ago. I created a vision board for myself. And on my vision board, I had a picture of a house, that I wanted. I have a picture of a place on a beach, that represents, relaxing and taking care of myself. I have a big red heart, for me that represents love. I do want to be married again. I want a healthy, happy relationship. Um, I love horses, so I have a picture of black stallions. Um, Stallions to me represent power and strength. And so for me, that was me tapping into the strength that even though I didn't always feel it, I wanted to get there. I wanted to get to that point to where I could walk in what I felt was strength, because people would tell me you are strong. I see it, but I didn't feel it myself. I wanted to get to that point to where I could feel it and see it myself. So I put that on my vision board. And I also put a white Camaro on my vision board because that's what I wanted. That was a part of my goal. Now, before I could get the Camaro, I had to deal with my finances. And I did that. And so, and I've been saying for, I don't know how long, Love Bay, I've been telling y'all on my birthday, I was going to give myself a Camaro. And that's what I did. But I had to fix my finances first. I couldn't stay in that point where I said, this person messed me up and I had to pay off debt, that they put on my credit report. And I couldn't stay there. I couldn't stay stuck. So I did what I needed to do for me. And I enjoyed that process when I got my Camaro. It was beautiful. I actually got it in April. I called my bank on a Friday. I told them, I'm about to buy a car. This is what I want to do. I took care of everything that I needed to take care of. And then I had to find my car. That process didn't go as smoothly or as simple as I thought. I thought, I just call the dealership and, tell them, I want the Camaro, have everything ready. I'm going to come and pick it up. And the dealerships, I've never seen a Camaro like out front, like on a lot. I figured, they're Camaros. They're like on the inside, you keep Camaros inside. So I called the dealership, I asked, do you have a Camaro? He didn't have him. He said, you don't have him here. And he said, I could put you on a waiting list. We could order one for you. You can have it in maybe 3-6 months. So I didn't want to do that. I called another dealership. Same thing. He said, we don't have one, but I can order one for you. And I said, no, I need my car now. I called the third dealership. He said, we don't have them, but I'll connect you to a dealership, that we work with. They have Camaros. And he said to me, ma'am, what you're asking for is rare. He said, a Camaro where we live. He said, this is rare. And your specifications, we can't just pull it out. So I called the next dealership. They had 3 Camaros. One was lime green. One was already sold. And one was blue. It just wasn't, what I wanted. I wanted a white Camaro. He said, I can put in an order for you, but we have to get permission to build it. It could take up to a year. Give us a deposit. And I said, no, this is just not, this is not going right. I called another dealership. He said, ma'am, what you need to do is expand your radius. He told me, he gave me a website to go to. He said, this is what you need to do. And then he actually ended up doing it for me while we were on the phone. He expanded the radius. He found the car. He said, ma'am, your car is in Virginia. He gave me the dealership, information. So I called that dealership. They had the Camaro there. I said, can you deliver this Camaro to me? He said, well, if you put on, down a deposit, we can talk about that and see how it goes. I said, sir, if you can guarantee delivery to me, that you will bring that Camaro to me, you will have cash payment in 1 to 2 days. He said, hold on, ma'am, I think we can work with that. I had my Camaro a week later. That was the experience that I had. The frustrating part was trying to find the car that I wanted because it wasn't close to me. The frustrating part was not the financial part, because that was worked out, because I did what I needed to do. Because I didn't keep my head buried in the sand like an ostrich. I did what I needed to do. So I was in a financial position to get that car that I had on my vision board. I didn't care how much it was. I'm like, this is what, I wanted. And I wanted a white Camaro because when I see the color white, reminds me of God. It just does. White reminds me of God. I knew that this was something that God was doing for me. And that's what I wanted, a white Camaro. And I have my windows tinted black. So it means something special to me. That's an accomplishment. But again, I could not bury my head in the sand like an ostrich when it came to my finances. Dealing with the price of the Camaro. It actually cost more than what I thought because there's some extra things in there. I wasn't upset about that. I didn't go back and forth. It wasn't a thing where I had to haggle to get the price down. No, all I needed to make sure was you deliver this car to my front door. That's it. And if I can do that, if I can go back to school, if I can complete my degree, you can do that. You just have to take responsibility for yourself. I know it hurts. I know it sucks. I know it's not fair, but you got to deal with it and you got to move through it. Take the time that you need. Cry when you need to cry. Stop and breathe when you need to breathe. Sit down and put your plan together. Do a vision board. Do whatever you need to do, but do something, do it, and keep doing it until it's done. What happens in one person's life, it doesn't mean that they're better than you. It doesn't mean that they're smarter than you. It doesn't mean anything except that they did something for themselves that now you have to do for you. And it is possible. Your dream might be something else. It may be a house. Your dream may be just to live your life in peace. So what do you need to do about that? Look at your circle around you. Look at the relationships around you. Do you need to reorganize and reset your boundaries? Do you need to move some people out, pull some people in? Do you need to, do some things that are resetting the issues that you see in your life? Nobody can do it but you. And nobody is going to do it but you. And you have to decide. Do it while you're crying. Do it while you're scared. Do it while you're hurting. Do it while you're trying to figure this out along the way, because it's step by step. It's possible. And tonight, we really wanted to encourage you to just move. Just move and do it. And when those sad moments come, deal with it. When the angry moments come, deal with it. If confusion comes, deal with it. Whatever it is, you deal with it and you keep going. And again, I am telling you, I love you. I feel you. I understand you. We may not have gone through exactly the same things, but pain is pain, hurt is hurt. And I give you the acknowledgement that maybe it is that you're waiting for. I acknowledge you. So now I ask you to take that and do what you need to do for yourself. Don't wait for something that's not going to happen. And don't wait for somebody else to do what only it is that you can do for yourself. And no, it's not easy. It's not. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it can be done. And it will only be done when you make the decision to do it. Carrie?
Yeah, I think that making a decision is a huge part of moving forward. I wanted to say, also if you're dealing with a mental illness because of things that have happened to you, I want you to understand that we are human beings, so everything that we go through, it leaves an imprint on us. It leaves a mark. So if you're dealing with something like a mental illness now of because of things you've been through, and now you're very successful and you still deal with depression or anxiety or these things, I don't want you to pressure yourself too much, like I should be happy, I should am I ungrateful for the things that I have? Like, you have to acknowledge, like what we were saying, you have to acknowledge the things that you've been through, because until that peace comes, there's always going to be this kind of incompletion until you acknowledge the things that you've been through, because it's so important to acknowledge and see your humanity, because success is good, yes. Acquiring things, abundance is good, but you also have to consider, spiritual abundance and feeling whole within yourself. So just always make sure that you're not beating yourself up for feeling
maybe like you did, like feeling one day maybe like you did 15 years ago, because you're like, oh my gosh, why am I feeling this way? Like, why am I feeling this way? Like, I've accomplished all of these things. Because then that makes you feel angry, and then like the hardness, like it starts interesting me, because I mean, I'm still working towards my goals, but what I'm saying is like I've experienced this, and it's just like, because I went through a lot, especially in the 7th grade. And some days I feel like, there are just some days I just feel traumatized. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I just feel like, oh my gosh, like I feel disturbed. But like, don't be down on yourself like, oh, I should be stronger. I shouldn't be feeling these things anymore. Like, don't do that. Take the time and do what you need to do to process those things. Process what you went through. It's so important. And I know sometimes there are people who can't. Like, I know some people, they're like, I'm like, talk about your feelings, talk about your emotions. And this is especially people with a lot of more masculine energy. Like, they just can't, like, to talk, to process, to feel. It's just like, no, X, I can't. And it's not even, it's like a mental, it's like a involuntary thing. It's just like their brains, their bodies are like, no, don't want to think about that. Don't want to feel about that. They just can't. And that's not my experience, but I would say if that's something you're dealing with, I think doing the personal growth, you need to get help, because there's some things we won't be able to do till we get help.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would just say don't be afraid to get help. Well, I can't say don't be afraid, but because it's scary. But what I'm saying is take the steps for personal growth so you can get, you can get what you feel that you need in order to say, hey, I need help. Because sometimes that's the goal. Like, I need help. That's not the step. That's like, I need to get to a place where I can ask for help.
Yes. That is absolutely perfect. And I want to share the number for substance abuse and mental health services. This is in the United States. The national hotline is 800-662-4357. So just like with our resources for domestic violence, I encourage listeners and viewers to reach out for the resources that you need for mental health services, because it is okay. And you do need to deal with your emotions. And the first part of being able to deal with anything is being honest. Emotions are real. Your emotions, if you don't handle them correctly, can cripple you. And your emotions are your emotions. They are where they are. And you just have to be honest with you, and you move through. You just take steps. Like I can say, even dealing with my emotions, there were times I wanted to be angry. That I was hot, man. I was pissed off. I'm like, this is not fair. I don't like this. I don't like you. I felt that anger. I wanted to be angry, but I had to work myself through that. I had to get through it. There are times, I felt sad. I wanted to be sad. All right. I just felt like, leave me alone. Let me stay in my space. This is how I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with right now. It is okay to feel however you feel. It is okay to feel it, but you deal with it. You just don't get stuck there. And that's what we really want to encourage you in on tonight. We want to encourage you, in order for you to get to that place in life where you want to be. You have to deal with your feelings. You have to deal with your emotions. You have to deal with the trauma if trauma has been present in your life. You cannot pretend that it didn't happen. If you do, you're only prolonging an explosion that at some point is going to occur. And it does not have to be a loud explosion. It could be a quiet meltdown. But at some point, it will happen if you don't deal with yourself, if you don't deal with your issues, and love you enough to just focus on you. Don't focus on him. Don't focus on her. Don't focus on them. This is about you. You want to get to where you need to be in your life. For some people, the biggest thing is just to be able to lay down and go to sleep at night. Like, I just want to lay down, lay my head on my pillow and peace and sleep through the night. If that is what you want, if that is what you need, if that is what you desire, then you have to take the steps necessary for yourself to get to that point. If your goals are financial, if your goals are spiritual, if your whatever it is, you lay out your process, you lay out your goals, and do what you need to do for yourself. And if you need help, you reach out and get it. If you need a counselor, if you need friends, if you need family, if you have individuals who you can trust, then you take those steps and you start and you do it on your own. You are worth it. If you don't hear it from anybody else, I'm telling you, you are worth it and you can do it. And there is nothing that anybody has that you can't have. You just have to put in the effort and do what you need to do for yourself. Because again, you are worth it. And Love Bae, you are important. And I'm telling you, I've never said anything that I haven't been through or dealt with or I'm not dealing with myself. This is real. So I know how you feel. I know what it is, to go through trauma. But I also know what it's like to get through on the other side. And I know what it's like to get on the other side and still have flashbacks and still have triggers and still have moments where I feel sad, still have moments where I may feel angry. And I have to deal with that. It's normal. It's all a part of the process. So again, on tonight, we encourage you, do what you need to do for yourself to get to where it is that you want to be and need to be in your life. I know I can't be the only one driving Camaros or whatever it is your dream may be. I am not the only one who will have dreams that are fulfilled. We all can have it. We all can have it. So, Love Bae, if you want to catch up on previous episodes from the program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. We want to thank you for joining Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Love Bae Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Love Bae family will rise and out of the ashes together. And thank you so much, Carrie, for being with us on tonight. Have a good evening. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Of course.
This was